We are going to be reviewing some popular 2025 book releases today. Right from Great Big Beautiful Things by Emily Henry to Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jiminez to Vera Wong's Guide to Snooping on a Dead Man and so many other books that I have read already. So I can't wait to get started with the video. I can't wait to tell you all my thoughts about these books. So let's get started right away. Hi everyone, I'm Archana and welcome to my channel Read with Archie. In my channel, I talk about books, book recommendations, book reviews. I take you on tours to bookstores and sometimes we also do a little bit of journaling here and there. So if you're someone who likes these things, please consider subscribing to my channel. And don't forget to hit the bell icon for notifications. I will be posting the reviews of 2025 releases in parts. As and when it releases, I'll be reading the books and then I'll be posting the reviews of those. So in this video, which is the first part of 2025 book releases, I'll be posting the review of 6 books here. Okay, so we are going to start off with the first book, Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales. So if you have been following my channel for a while now, you would know that I'm a huge fan of the Emily Wilde series. The first book of the series was Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. The second one was Map of the Otherlands. Both of them were 4.5 and 5-star reads respectively for me. I rate everything out of 5. And now I was eagerly waiting for this release since last year, since the February of last year, and here we are. So Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales was released this year in Feb and it is written by Fawcett, and this is the brief plot of the book. Remember, I never give spoilers in my video, and if at all I'm giving a spoiler, I'll be giving you a spoiler alert prior to that. So of course this video has no spoilers. So this is the whole plot of the book. So for the first book, the plot goes like this. Now picture this as I say it, okay? So there's this really good looking professor, and this professor is a female, and she specializes in dryadology. Dryadology is the study of fairies. Now she's a nerd, she's also socially awkward, but then she is now thrown in to rule the kingdom of fairies, the kind of creatures that she has studied about all along. And now she's face to face with them and now she has to rule them along with her fiancé, okay? But one caveat here is that these fairies are not like our picture perfect fairies, nor the fairies that we read in our fairy tales, not the ones with these pixie sized wings and really fair and smooth ceramic like skin with good hearts who grant you wishes. No, not at all. These fairies are nowhere like that. These fairies are brutal, they are ugly looking, they range from beautiful to ugly looking. There are different varieties of these fairies. I say varieties because they are not at all human like. In fact, a lot of these fairies, when they encounter a human, could tear the human from limb to limb. That is how brutal these fairies are. So Emily is a human and now she is supposed to be leading this land as a queen. So this is how the story goes, and this is book 3 in the whole Emily Wilde series. So in book 1, Emily Wilde is still exploring things in a new part of the town in Jossland or Lostland. I don't know how to spell that Swedish name, but that is where she explores it, okay? And in book 2, she encounters further adventures. But here in book 3, she is actually trying to lead a kingdom along with her fiancé with an evil stepmother here. But here, the evil stepmother is rather annoying, okay? The stepmother in question here is not even someone that she can kind of reach with her hands, okay? Like at least if she can reach the stepmother with her hands, she can probably strangle the evil stepmother, but that is not the case because the stepmother herself is a fairy and she has all these magical powers, and she also has people in this fairyland to do her bidding, okay? And now Emily is stuck there. And now their entire kingdom encounters a problem where a lot of these trees and roots and all of these, they start rotting. And for fairies, they live very closely with nature. This is a huge problem. And not just that, a lot of these fairies are also succumbing to that evil spell. So now how do they stop that? So that is when Emily's research abilities and all of that come into play, and how she tries to battle this entire adventure. So this book is filled with a lot of fantasy aspects, just like book 1 and 2, where this, like the gown that Emily wears, it could have all these hidden weapons, and a lot of these Emily Wilde's book 1 and 2 book 1 and 2 characters make an appearance here. Though of course Poe had a very small character in this book, I'm still glad that Poe's name at least was mentioned and a little bit of Poe was there. And Snowbell, the really cute fox that could just kind of like come and curl up on your lap, the kind of fox that you want to actually pet but could just rip you to shreds. Snowbell is also a part of the picture. And so this is all the plot and the theme of the entire story. But what are my thoughts on this? So the thing is, I was very excited about this release. Okay, I was eagerly looking forward to this release, but unfortunately this story did not meet my expectations, because book 1 and 2 actually they set my expectations here, and this book actually fell short of that. Okay, it could not meet my expectations, and I felt a little bored while reading it in like certain aspects of it, because generally books 1 and 2, they really kept me hooked to the plot and they really had me enjoying every aspect of it. So overall this book gets like 3 out of 5 stars from me. Let's say like 3.25 out of 5 stars from me, and that is what I feel about book 3 of this Emily Wilde series. And this is not exactly a book that I would recommend, but books 1 and 2 are the ones that I highly recommend. So these are my thoughts for the first book in the 2025 releases. Let's move on to the second book that I'm going to review today. I'll be telling you the plot of the book. Try and guess and see if you are able to guess which book this is. Okay, there is this old lady, a Chinese mom, who runs a tea shop. Okay, this, she names it as the world famous tea shop, though it is nowhere even close to that. And now this Chinese mom, she's very old. Okay, her son is away from her, she's very old, and then there is a murder that happens in her tea house. One day morning she comes to do about her daily chores, and she discovers a dead body in the tea shop. So ever since then, life takes a different turn, and she actually ends up solving a murder case that even the police could not solve. Okay, that is book 1. But this time book 2 was also released. So the book 1 that I'm talking about is Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers. Now the part 2 of this book was released this year, I think in April or so, I think on April 25th. That is Vera Wong's Guide to Snooping on a Dead Man. Okay. So about book 1, I have already given you my thoughts in one of my previous videos. So book 1 is very cozy. This is the plot that I told you, it's about book 1. Okay, it is very cozy, but I just still felt that, it kind of did not really meet my expectations. So it earned a 3.5 out of 5 stars from me. But book 2 is so good, it kept me hooked to it, and it got a 4.5 out of 5 stars from me, and I'll tell you why. Okay, so in this book, so again, you'll see a lot of previous characters from Vera Wong's book 1, but book 2 is very unique because it brings a lot of these, dark aspects of the real world into play here. It is still very cozy. You'll really adore Vera Wong. So for someone who hasn't read Vera Wong, you should definitely read it, because I love Vera Wong as a character. Okay, she's an old woman. She likes to feed people. She's really great at cooking. And just reading this, as someone who does not enjoy cooking much, I actually feel like cooking. I actually feel like going into the kitchen and cooking something, whipping up something nice. So that is the magical effect of this book. Okay, so this is like a cozy murder mystery. It's a whodunit, and Vera Wong doesn't fail to amaze us again. So this time in book 2, Vera Wong is actually a little bored because she solved a murder mystery in book 1. Okay, of course there are no spoilers, but yeah, book 1 was kind of good. But book 2 here, she tries to find a murder. And that's when her future daughter-in-law, who is also a police officer, that is Officer Selena Gray, has some of her files in a room. So Vera Wong, the snoopy lady that she is, she goes into that room, picks one of the files, and then she starts reading it. Okay, she accidentally reads it, but still it wasn't, exactly an accident. Okay, she accidentally reads it. And after reading that file, she discovers that she can actually link it to something that she saw recently. And then she goes on snooping. She befriends her suspects just like she did in book 1, but this time the suspects are actually dangerous. Okay, Because of that, a lot of Vera Wong is put through a lot. Her shop is vandalized and Vera Wong's life itself is in danger. So this is what book 2 has. It has a lot of these really what to say, the dark aspects of the world, but it is put into this book really well, and I really loved reading this book. I rate this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars, and I highly recommend this cozy murder mystery. Now let's move on to the third book in this video, that is Beg, Borrow or Steal, written by Sarah Adams. So Beg, Borrow or Steal is again a part of a series, but you can also read it as a standalone. Okay, so this is the third book. So the first book was When in Rome, the second one is Practice Makes Perfect, and the third book now is Beg, Borrow or Steal. Okay, picture this. Okay, there is a really bold, beautiful and confident second grade teacher. Her name is Emily Walker, and she is going on about her life. Okay, she's right now alone because her siblings have kind of moved on in their lives, and now she's just here trying to write her romance novel because she is very obsessed with wanting to write a romance novel someday. But then in comes this really charming person into her life, who is someone that she left behind in her past. Okay, because she was a rival. He was an arch rival of Emily, and he comes back into town. Okay, he left without saying a goodbye, and now he's back in town. And not just that, it actually becomes worse here. He is also her colleague, again in the same school, and he is also a second grade teacher. Okay, now let's make matters even worse. So now, not just that he is a colleague, he is also her neighbor, and he is renovating the house right next to her, causing a lot of noise and ruckus. Okay, but Emily Walker here is not that easy to deal with. Okay, she is petty, she tries to sabotage his efforts, and though the entire town actually falls in love with Jack Bennett, this person in question that I'm talking about, she is also the whole town also is scared and loves Emily Walker. Okay, so the thing is because she's trying to sabotage Jack here, she is also getting the town to do her bidding, but she is also kind of hopelessly falling in love with him. But Jack Bennett has a secret of his own. So as a second grade teacher, Emily is perceived as someone very respectable and all of that. But then she accidentally sends her steamy romance novel to her head professor, and then she has to sneak into his house with the help of Jack Bennett to actually kind of get that novel from him before he actually reads it. Okay, so these are some of the adventures that they face, the romance that they have, the kind of petty fights that they have, their rivalry. It is just so attractive. They kind of want the same place at at a cafe, like the same table at a cafe. They want to sit in the same chair. That is how petty their fights are, and I absolutely enjoyed reading their banter. I love the romance that blossomed between them, and I cannot recommend this book enough. So I read book 1 and 2. So just remember, so Emily actually has 3 other siblings here. So Emily has Annie, Emily has Madison, and she also has Noah. So 2 sisters and 1 brother. So each of these siblings are kind of their stories are dedicated, each book is dedicated to one sibling story. So Beg, Borrow or Steal is dedicated to Emily Walker's story, but next year Madison's story is also going to be released, and I'm very, very excited to read that. Unfortunately, I just read it on Kindle and I want a physical copy of that book, and I think I'm going to splurge on 3 more copies of these books, because one I need is When in Rome, I need Practice Makes Perfect, and I also want Beg, Borrow or Steal, so that I can have a nice set to display here in my shelf. Okay, so this is something that is 4.5, or let us say almost a 5-star read for me, and I'm planning to explore all of Sarah Adams' books, and yeah, this is one romance I highly recommend. It's a rom-com. You should definitely pick this up if you want a light read but also want a lot of romance. Please remember that all these books that I'm talking about are for people only above 18. Please do not pick these books if you are under 18. The next book that I'm reviewing is called Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jiminez. As a fan of Abby Jiminez, because I loved her book Just for the Summer, that is the only other book of hers that I've read. It has a great plot. Some of these sensitive issues were dealt with a lot of gentleness, and I absolutely love her work, which is why I wanted to read Say You'll Remember Me. So, say you'll remember me, the plot of it goes like this. Okay, Xavier is a veterinarian, and then Samantha is also the main lead character. Okay, so one day Samantha actually saves a kitten and walks into Xavier's clinic. But Xavier is kind of like, he's grumpy because he's actually in a bad mood at that time, and somehow they kind of like have an argument. But still later Xavier asks Samantha out. Okay, but after a really amazing night, and like I must say, it was like a night of their lives, Samantha has to move back to her hometown because of a personal family issue. Okay, and she is not going to be returning back. And Xavier is devastated by this because he felt that they had an amazing night and he really wanted to take things further. And when I say amazing night, I do not mean it in a physical aspect, but in a way of just enjoying each other's company as like, potential romantic partners. Okay. So to tell you a little bit about Xavier and Samantha, I can tell you that both of them are really in love. The love that has kind of like, blossomed between them, it is really beautiful, it is really pure. In fact, Xavier is a walking green flag. So that is how much they kind of enjoyed each other's company, but now they're just thrown apart. Okay, life throws a curveball at them and they're thrown apart. But Xavier was not aware of that, and Xavier and Samantha try to work it out somehow. Okay, now they have a long distance, there are a lot of issues that come into play, and not just that, Samantha's family situation is not an ideal situation to be in. She has aging parents, and one of her parents is actually going through a severe health crisis. So this book overall has a very sad undertone to it, and as someone who is very scared of death, as someone who is worried about aging parents, I felt that this book is not the kind of book that I would want to be reading. I read this book anyway, but still, like, because of the overall sad undertone to it, and whenever I read a book, I put myself in the character's shoes. Okay, I go through the same motions as the character, and this book kind of left me feeling like, as I mean, not after the book, but as I was reading this book, I felt very exhausted. I felt like I was in love, but I felt like I was very hopeless. I was feeling hopeless, and I was going through a lot of grief. Like, it felt like that. The way Abby Jiminez has written this book is amazing, okay, because every bit of what she has written, because she's an amazing writer, I actually felt all that, the characters in the book were going through. The love and the romance was great, but somehow it had like, this very sad undertone, because of which, not just because of that, I also enjoyed a lot of these sad books, but this is a book that I just did not enjoy at all. And so I rate this book about, like, let's say 2.5 rounded off to 3 out of 5 stars. Okay, it may just be my opinion, but I do know that Abby Jiminez is an amazing writer. I will continue to read her other books because I just can't wait to read her other books. But this is my personal opinion about this book. The fifth book that I'm going to be reviewing today is Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. It was a much awaited 2025 release, and I just couldn't wait to get my hands on it. So the very week that this book released, I picked it up instantly because I'm a huge fan of funny story written by Emily Henry. So I know a lot of people are huge fans of like her other books, but funny story really set my expectations high. Okay. So now let me tell you the plot of this book without any spoilers, of course. Okay, Alice Scott is a great writer, but she has not had a break in her career. Okay, she has hunted down this opportunity and she goes into a small town to interview this tabloid princess, Margaret Ives. Okay, Margaret Ives is almost like 80 years old and she disappeared for about 2 decades, and now she somehow managed to find her, and now she has to, like, she gets a chance to write about her life. But it is not as easy as it seems because she has a rival there. Okay, another person by name Hayden Anderson also comes into the small town, and Margaret Ives now tells them, see, I will be giving you both of you this opportunity, and once you kind of write a little bit and prove to me, like, that you are a good writer, accordingly I'll make this choice and then, go ahead with one of you. This is not what Hayden or Alice were expecting. Okay, and Hayden's book was already a Pulitzer Prize winner, and Alice is kind of threatened by Hayden, but she also realizes that Hayden is also threatened by Alice. But the thing is, these two, despite being rivals, have to work together. But the thing that is stopping them from working together is an NDA that both of them have signed with Margaret Ives. Okay, and they also feel that Margaret Ives is hiding a lot more things than what she is letting on. And this is what the plot of the book looks like, and how they work out their differences together. It is a typical grumpy sunshine trope. Okay, Alice Scott is the sunshine. She's a warm person, she likes being nice to people, she's very optimistic. And Hayden is the opposite. He's a grumpy person, but underneath he is kind. Okay, so this is what the book's plot is about. I did not really see that romance between them blooming, but it felt like, it still kind of happened some way. Like, they are still kind of like getting to know each other, and they're still kind of like, she's here, he is there, sort of a story. But all of a sudden they look like they're very much in love. And I could not actually connect the dots as to when they fell in love, what exactly made them fall in love. I know there were moments of kindness, moments of like these sweet gestures, but still it did not really do it for me. Okay, and not just that, like the entire book I felt like, I was kind of just going on a wild goose chase to find like, what exactly is wrong, what is exactly that they are hiding. And I overall felt that though this book was very well written, because of course it's Emily Henry, the plot of the book did not really meet my expectations, and hence I would not recommend this book to anybody. But still, because of the way it was written, and especially because there is this really beautiful letter written in the end by Alice, that letter was somehow like, it just touched my heart. Okay, I really loved that letter. And because of all these aspects, I'm going to rate it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. But however, as a romance, I would not recommend it to people. So these are my thoughts on the 5th book, Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. The next book that I'm going to talk about is this. Picture a little bit of Norse mythology, a lot of steamy romance, and a lot of fantasy elements, a lot of magic, runes, and all these interesting stuff like that. That is what this book is made of. Yes, I'm talking about A Curse Carved in Bone by Danielle Jensen. This is book 2 in the Saga of the Unfated series. So book 1 is A Fate Inked in Blood. Book 2 is A Curse Carved in Bone. Okay, so this series is interlinked, so you should have read book 1 to be able to move on to book 2. So now, Freya is a fisherman's wife. Okay, she knows that she is meant for much more in life. She knows that there is something lurking between, like, underneath her palms, and she wants a life bigger than this. But she is just gutting her fish, and she has an abusive husband. Okay, and one day she finds that she is used as a bargain in a trade that her husband has made with the king of that land. Okay, that is because her husband has secretly discovered that she has magical powers. And why does she have magical powers? Because she has a drop of one of these Norse gods' blood in her. And so she has a lot of these powers. One of her powers is shielding people, shielding a kingdom, and being able to destroy things. Okay, and she is called the Shield Maiden. So she is the daughter of Helm and Hel. They are the Norse gods. She was born to earthly parents, but still she has drops of blood by both of them. Okay, and now she is used in a bargain, and she is used by the king Snorri for her powers. Okay, but Snorri has this extremely handsome son who also has a drop of God's blood in him. He has Tyr's drop of blood, and his name is Bjorn. Okay, it is spelled as Bjorn. I had a hard time reading that name, so I had to go on YouTube, try to learn how to pronounce that name, because it is a Swedish name. A lot of these names used here are all kind of Swedish and Norwegian names, but yeah, I had to go on YouTube and each time learn to spell a name. So somehow Freya is kind of like now taken by the king, and the world actually fears her. And why does the world fear her? Because of a prophecy told by Bjorn's mom. So Bjorn's mom was a seer who is now dead, or at least considered dead, and she feels that Freya could be a threat to earth. Okay, she has already foreseen Freya here, and because of her powers, they see that her eyes are red with fury and she leaves corpses in her wake, and that is why people fear her. But how does fate pan out for her? How do these kings? So Snorri is trying to use her powers, but that is not exactly what happens. There is also another king here in question called Harold, and there are a lot of these raiders who try to raid these kingdoms. With all these mix, how will Freya emerge out, or will she actually become the curse that the people fear her to be? So this is the plot of the story, and since I enjoyed reading book 1, I had to pick book 2. So I picked book 2. Book 2 was released in May. I just finished reading it last week and I absolutely loved reading it. Okay, and mind you, this is again only for people above 18. Please do not read it if you are under 18, because it has a lot of these intimate scenes. It is basically like, you know, a book that has all this magic, fantasy elements, Norse mythology, but then it also has a lot of steamy romance, which is not ideal for like people under 18. So I loved reading this book. I love the characters Freya, I love Bjorn, I love the character development, I love the plot development, the kind of surprise elements that come into picture here. I love the betrayals in this book, and damn, I just love everything about this book. So this book again earns like a 4.75 out of 5 stars. So I do rate it a 5 stars, and I highly recommend that you read this book if you are into fantasy, want a little bit of Norse mythology, want a little bit of romance and whatnot. So this is one thing that I highly recommend. So these are the books that I wanted to review today. We reviewed about 6 books today, and I hope you enjoy reading them if you decide to pick it. And thank you so much for watching my channel. If you enjoy these videos, please consider subscribing to my channel. It would mean the world to me. Thank you so much for watching. Stay happy, stay blessed and stay kind. Bye.